That wasn't the time that I threw up in the van on the way home, was it?
Well, no, that's what I was telling.
He goes outside, comes running back in and says, Paul McCartney's outside.
No way.
And so of course we all pile out and right across the road.
At one stage, McCartney said, anyone got any requests?
Yeah.
And Annie said, I'd love you to sing that. My favourite song of yours, My Sweet Lord.
Which is obviously a George Harrison song, isn't it?
Yeah.
After the first song,
Yeah.
you're crap on your bike off, you go, here's your money, go.
Yeah, no, it's never happened to me.
See that?
No.
Sorry, I didn't mean to act surprised.
Well, no, to know.
I have, for our American friends, I've met Britney Spears.
Is that right? How did that
She's
come about?
probably the most, she was on this morning. She was singing on this morning.
With Richard and Judy spoke on that show, didn't you?
Yeah.
Hello, good evening, good afternoon and good morning and welcome to the episode 1 of Unlikely Legends. Now, what is an unlikely legend? Now, we're all legends. These lot are certainly legends. Legends in their own lunchtime anyway, let's put it that way. But unlikely, it means I don't have to get any celebrities in because they're way too expensive. So instead, I've got these guys here. And so, if you just want to introduce yourselves, tell us your name. Who are you?
I'm Dave Ishwood.
Hey, Dave. Nice to meet you, Dave.
My name's Ed Harris.
And on my far left there.
My name's Nick Peake.
Now, I've known Ed and Nick for a little while. I've probably known you all my life, really, haven't I?
Maybe.
Yeah. The reason is that's my dad. He's obviously the biggest legend of them all, next to me.
Legend.
Anyway, yeah. The reason why I've got these fine gentlemen in today is because they all share something in common and with me, and that's music. And they're all in a group together, which we might get onto in a bit. But I'm sure they've got some fascinating, interesting, weird, hopefully amusing stories that they can tell us about their musical journey. And so I've got a few questions written down for them. And let's get on with it, shall we? So the first question is, and feel free to chip in anytime. There's no plan with any of this. Just chip in whenever you like. Right. So first question I've got is, who or what first got you into music? You know, what were your early memories of thinking, I really want to get involved in music? Who were your early inspirations?
Do you want to come this way then? You
Can do.
Go on.
Yeah. I'm the youngest of 5 children.
5, really?
Yeah.
They're not a bit telly.
They were all all interested in music in their all in sort of different fields.
Yeah.
And my mum and dad, my dad particularly played mouth organ.
All right.
And he was a good mouth organ player.
Yeah.
And years before that, in his pub in Shropshire, he used to play a melodeon.
All right. Yeah.
You know,
I've had a go at one of them.
Yeah, but so have I.
Yeah.
Not much success.
No.
Anyway, so just very briefly, so I got my musical influences from all my siblings.
Right.
Running down from the top, my sister Christine was into big band jazz and Sinatra and Ella Fitzgerald and show tunes.
Not old enough for music hall and all that kind of thing.
No.
Not quite.
No, and I don't think my mum and dad were ever into that sort of stuff. But you know, she used to play all her stuff on the radiogram in the front room of the house.
Radiogram, right? Now this is going back.
Yeah, it is. Big piece of furniture the size of this table.
Goodness.
With a turntable and a radio and a big slot for it.
Did you have to wind it up?
No, not that bad. But it was a big piece of furniture with a very nice top.
Yeah.
So Chris used to play all her stuff.
Right.
The next one down, Brother Trev, he was into Ray Charles particularly.
Okay.
He used to like that sort of stuff. I didn't like my sister's taste in music, but it filtered in over the years, you know.
Yeah.
And I love all that sort of stuff now.
Yeah.
Brother Malcolm, next one down, he was into folk music, particularly Peter, Paul and Mary and the Dubliners and the Clancy Brothers. Brother Dave, who was 3 years older than me, he was moving in the Mersey beat era of stuff, and so I also grew up on that as well. But I grew up on Elvis and Buddy Holly. And
it's as eclectic as you get, really, isn't it?
Yeah, really, all that sort of stuff.
What is interesting is that there was that many of you, but each one of you just had completely different taste. That's-
But I'm, unfortunately, the only one who learnt to play an instrument.
None of them were interested in playing anything.
They all tried,
Right.
but they didn't really get anywhere.
Not as persistent as you, clearly. Or as talented, obviously.
I'll let these others speak in a minute. But I
We've got time, there's no rush.
Yeah, I put my musical sort of success, if you like,
Yeah.
to the fact that I bought a guitar when I was at school from a mate for 50 shillings.
Right.
No, 10 shillings.
50
Ten
cents.
I was saying 50
Oh,
shillings is all you come in, didn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah.
50
that's
shillings,
right.
£2.10.
Yeah. Anyway, and I really took to it. I
Yeah.
really enjoyed it, and so I persuaded my dad to let me buy a guitar.
Right.
On HP.
Really? Was that a thing back then?
Oh yeah, and I saved up my money for the deposit by delivering meat.
Really?
On a bike with a big basket, delivering meat. Which
Just for those, there may be some American viewers who are thinking, what the hell does it mean by HP? No, there's a couple of things that HP is. It's a brown sauce. It's a lot of chips. It stands for hire purchase, which means you pay it off each week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, we used to call it get it on tape.
it was that's right. It was a very very common thing in
Yeah.
those days.
Yeah.
This is the early '60s.
Yeah.
And lost my thread. Where was I up to? I was just
This
going
is
to
what
say-
happens when you've been
Oh, no,
around
I-
since the early 60s.
No, I know what it was. So I persuaded my dad to get me a good guitar. But
Right.
then shortly after that, my parents moved away. They took me with them.
Right.
They moved away.
I would hope so.
Well, they didn't take any of the rest of the family. All the rest of the family.
Don't tell them where we're going.
They were grown-ups by this point, weren't they? Just so I can check.
It's all the land road.
My wife is a social worker. Is there something historical that we need to
I
investigate?
don't think.
here?
I think in the 1960s there wasn't such a thing as a social worker.
No, that's true.
You know, all that. So I moved away from home
Right.
to the middle of Shropshire.
Yeah.
Only about 90 miles away from where the family home was, and I didn't know anyone when I got to this place.
Yeah.
My parents were working at a private school.
Yeah.
I was living with my granny in
Okay.
a place called Market Drayton.
Yeah.
And I didn't know anyone, so I had nothing else to do at night but sit in my bedroom
And
playing my guitar and
fiddling
slowly
away.
getting better.
Happy days.
And that's what I put my limited success down to.
I wouldn't
that-
say. I wouldn't
because
say.
all the
wouldn't say
other,
limited. You've ended up with these legends.
Well,
You
yeah.
know what I mean?
all the other brothers have had a go at various times,
Yeah.
but just never got anywhere with it.
Gave
But
up.
I was just persistent.
Oh, happy days. What about yourself, Ed? What was your first
Very similar.
memories and inspirations?
Yeah, well, similar to Nick, really. I grew up. My father, I grew up in Liverpool. My father was a good singer. He didn't sing publicly, well,
Right.
not on his own, as it
Yeah.
were. But he used to lead the singing in the pub. In the
Right.
in the days before television.
Yeah.
Every pub had a piano.
That's right. Yeah.
And he was he used to sing in the
always
pub.
wanted to get everybody
one of them. Well, others did it as well.
Yeah.
So my dad was always singing as well around the house, and
Yeah.
always had the radio on in the house. When I was growing up.
Yeah.
So two-way family favourite. So everything, Radio 2 or the Light programme as it was called then.
Was it right?
And
Before my time.
yeah, the light program, and it was all stuff of the day. you
Right.
know. So I grew up, and again, like Nick, with a massive radiogram.
Yeah.
Which, when I was off school, I'd open the lid of all my dad's records, and he had all sorts of, from Elvis to Jim Reeves to Marty Robbins, all that sort of era. So I used to play them, and so I sort of absorbed all that.
Yeah.
And then of course.
Did you have children? Sorry, I don't mean.
Oh yeah. Did my, I was
have
the oldest.
siblings?
No, not then. Not then. I was on my own then. My sister came along later, so it was just me. You see, so I just absorbed all my dad's sort of influences. And then of course, fast forward to 1962-63 when the Beatles came. Because I was aware of
Place to be, wasn't it?
Yeah, I was aware of what was going on in the chart. I can remember. What was his name? Adam and Faith, what do you want if you all that sort of stuff. And then, because the Beatles came along, and that was it, I just sort of felt up, line and sinker,
Yeah.
And because I was only like 8 or 9 at the time,
Right.
my dad he knew straight away, so he started buying me their records.
Right.
So I've still got all of the original singles that my dad bought for me.
You still got them?
Yeah. And he took me to see A Hard Day's Night and helped with all the Beatles stuff.
Right.
And then, of course, about 68, 67, he bought me my first guitar,
Right, what a time to get it as well.
Yeah, and it wasn't a good one. It was like a Spanish-style guitar, nylon strings,
Yeah.
And I sort of bought all the books and everything, couldn't do it.
Did I remember you were telling me you learned from the same book?
Well, there was a Play in the Day, this, Bert Weed.
Is that like that?
That was the one that everybody bought.
Was it right?
It was called Play in a Day.
Yeah.
Do you remember any other songs that were in it? I know it's going back.
Home on the Range.
That was in one of my guitar books.
Lots of simple.
But Bert Wheaton used to be on the television regularly. He was on children's programs.
He's the guy who wrote the book.
He's the guy who wrote the book.
And he's a good guitarist as well, good guitarist.
And he used to be regularly on television, so he was very well known.
Right.
And I did.
Yeah.
This story could come later.
Go on. I have got other questions. I
don't need any more.
Limited battery and
Yeah.
Just very briefly, I interviewed Bert Wheaton.
Yeah.
Did you really?
When I was at Radio Merseyside. I was at Radio Merseyside for about 5 years and interviewed lots of celebs in that time.
Yeah.
But Bert Wheaton was a special one.
Was he?
Yeah.
It was like
a one-off.
coming in, Oh yeah.
So what about you?
No, I'll just finish that off.
Sorry,
So I couldn't play this guitar, so my dad bought me another one then, which strangely still couldn't play.
All right.
Nothing's changed.
No. But that was a slightly better guitar.
Yeah.
But I was trying to figure out, name of those pitch pipes to try and tune it. Remember those pitch pipes?
Yes, I do.
Couldn't sort of match that to. So anyway, got to the age of 15 and still couldn't do anything other than mess about. The school I went to in Kirby, in Liverpool, had a night school, an adult night school.
Oh, right, okay.
And it offered, one of the things it offered was guitar classes, as a pupil, it didn't cost us anything. So a friend of mine and I went to the, guitar class, and it was one of these, you all sit round and you probably stuff, Grand Old Duke of York, all this, And that's sort of where I learned the rudiments,
Grand Old Duke. I think that was the first thing I learned to play.
Yeah,
Grand Old Duke.
That sort of thing.
Remember this more than me.
That sort of thing, and that was it really. So once I sort of mastered the basic chord, I was off, and then within a couple of years I was playing. We had a folk club at school as well.
Really?
And so I
wouldn't get that these days, no.
Most schools haven't even got a sixth form, have they? Let alone. So that was my introduction.
Fantastic. What about you? I don't actually know your story about how and why you got into it.
It's really my dad, Grandad Jack.
Yeah.
He used to play guitar in a sort of rhythm band.
Did he really?
Yeah, he did.
I did not know that.
Obviously, he was in the Second World War.
Yeah.
And he started doing a bit of that.
Yeah.
And then when he came home, he did it for a bit of fun. So he never did it seriously.
Was he any good? Do you remember it?
He was okay, but he did stop and got just too involved in working, basically.
Yeah.
But he always wanted to encourage his three sons.
Right.
Give them a chance, because he enjoyed music, and he still did all the time.
Yeah.
So he said, if you want to, learn an instrument, help me do it. And he didn't push us into it.
No.
So we ended up with my eldest brother started with the piano.
Right. Yeah.
And then me and my twin started playing clarinet.
Did he?
And I started with the violin.
Right. Yeah. I do remember you telling me that.
Your grandmother, she was again very enthusiastic musically.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, she came from the Hills Organ School of Music, so her enthusiasm was boundless.
So like strangling the cat.
But her singing was awful. But perhaps that enthusiasm, I think, also caught hold of me, because she was always singing around the house.
Right.
So
there's nothing worse. There's some instruments that don't sound good when you're learning to play them. The violin's horrific. Plays badly, isn't it? That recorder.
Funny enough, my violin playing was not the most popular.
Was it not? That does surprise me.
But again, your grandmother, she never minded it whatsoever. So.
Did she genuinely not? Well, that's what she told you anyway.
It's your mother's job.
Well, that's true. Yeah. I suppose if you're going to get into me, I got into music from this chap here. It was again.
You've got something to tell you, David.
I'm going to speak to my mother about that. The DNA test. It was always around because obviously my dad was involved in music all his life, and I think the first thing I remember trying to play was that Greek thing. I can't remember what it was called.
Balalaika.
A bazooka.
Yeah.
Is it balalaika? I remember didn't you call it a bazooki? A bazooki.
Oh, bazooka.
Oh, that's a bazooki.
Yeah,
It was a bazooki.
bazooka is one thing to face.
That's a bazooka.
Yeah.
Very different. It's like this mother of
Like
pearl
round
back thing.
Yeah.
But it actually had 8 strings.
Yeah.
There were four double strings, wasn't there?
Yeah, a bit like a mandolin.
Yeah, and it made a nice noise, but that was the first thing that
I bought it on holiday in Greece.
Yeah. Was that Corfu?
Yeah, it was actually.
Yeah. Do you remember that holiday? Must have been very little, but yeah, that was the first time I remember. And obviously I remember you obviously, like your dad did, had all your old LPs.
Yeah.
Which I don't think you've still got them anymore, have you?
No, you had it in your garage.
Yeah, I don't know what happened to them. Possibly water damaged, I can't remember what happened to them. But yeah, that was my story. I think the next
what did
one,
you start playing first?
it was, well, I suppose it was the guitar.
Yeah.
Via the bouzouki, and I used to play my dad's guitar, the old Telecaster that's still going now. In fact, the next question is, tell me about your first instruments and how you learned, which I've kind of already touched upon. But yeah, it was that Greek bouzouki that you bought on holiday, and then I remember you getting me a Casio keyboard.
Yeah.
Which every kid had a Casio keyboard back in the day that had these little preset rhythms.
Yeah.
And so you just had to press one button, and it was like playing the drums, playing the bass, playing a little accompaniment. All you had to do was press one thing.
Did you actually do
thought
that?
You were great.
A lot with it. Did he get into it?
Yeah, I did.
I sort of messed about.
Because you can
with
use
it
that as an
like
accompaniment.
Yeah.
And then it's basically replacing what your left hand would do as a traditional pianist, and then you just play your melody with your right hand. And I did use that a bit, but we had a little 4-track recorder as well, didn't we? Do you remember? Or it might have been 8. It was a cassette. It had a tape player in, and I remember recording stuff through that into the 4-track from the Casio, and then briefly trying to sing, and then play some guitar on it as well.
Yeah, not very real to real early days.
Yeah, no, it wasn't. But I do remember once that I made this thing and I was well chuffed with it. I must have only been about 13. I thought this is the best thing, and it was this little riff that I did. And I must have heard something somewhere that stuck in my mind. And he said, "You know what you've done there?" I said, "What?" He said, "You've just written Paperback Writer again." And I must have heard it before. I thought, "Oh, this is the best. This is amazing." But apparently somebody had already beaten me to it anyway.
Well, you also didn't realise you'd invented looping.
Looping?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Right, what was your first? It was your violin, wasn't it? Your first instrument, and you've already touched on that with your first instrument, haven't you?
Yeah.
Which I suppose leads us on to your first bands. I certainly remember mine, or your first time that you performed in front of people, which I know you've all been doing for a very long time now. What was your first time that would you form on your own?
I formed a band. I formed a band when I was at school.
Yeah.
And performed at school dances.
Yeah.
Did anyone dance to us? They probably did, but
at least they didn't throw stuff, though, did they?
Yeah, they did.
Oh, did they?
One time, we used to play cover versions of not so many Beatles songs, but a few Stones songs and the Hollies. They were big at the time.
The Hollies.
That sort of pop stuff. But for some bizarre reason, I included in our set Old Shep, which is an old Elvis Presley song about his dog that dies. Do you know it?
It vaguely rings a bell.
When I was a lad, and Old Shep was a...
When you say Shep to me, I'm just thinking of Blue Peter's dog.
Oh, yeah.
That's the only thing maybe that's what Shep
I
was
wonder if
named
that
after.
was where the Blue Peter dog got the name from. Because the Old Shep song was a famous song that Elvis used to do.
Because Elvis also had a song called Old Petra, didn't he? No, that's a joke. There's Blue Peter and Uncle Petra. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
So.
Did you think of that yourself?
I did.
Try not to.
So the school band. What about you two?
Sorry, just the throwing.
Throwing stuff. What did they throw at you?
coins. Because at this point in our set, it was a 4-piece band.
Right.
The rest of the band left the stage, and I sat on the drummer's seat, singing this heartfelt ballad.
Oh, okay.
And my mate thought it was very funny to start throwing pennies as though I was busking.
Did you collect them? You should have in your pocket.
Bloody true, I did.
There you go, did you your first day's wages?
But it was good. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Those $3 pennies were a bit anyway.
Yeah, coins were a lot bigger then, weren't they? Could have done some serious damage with them. What about you, Ed?
Well, by the time I'd sort of, just going back one step, like a bit like Nick earlier, my dad had bought me these 2 cheapo guitars, which I still had. But when I sort of learned, to a decent standard or reasonable standard, enough to be able to sing with, I wanted a proper guitar. So my dad took me down to Frank Hesse's, which was the most famous music shop in Liverpool.
First guitar.
Yeah, it's where the Beatles. Everyone used to go to Frank Hesse's. Right. And I bought this Yamaha FG180, which I've still got, and my dad paid for it. And I paid him off,
Is that on HP?
out of my paper round,
Did you really?
Yeah. So I thought of that. But so at that point, like sort of late 60s, I was into Tyrannosaurus Rex, who later became T-Rex.
Right.
But Tyrannosaurus Rex were a duo who played sort of acoustic.
Right.
And how would you describe it? Sort of not. It was all a bit sort of
bit
folky, surrealist.
Was Mark Bolan part of it?
Oh yeah, Mark Bolan. He was the leader still.
Who was the other one?
Mickey Finn on bongos.
You're joking, aren't you?
No, Mickey Finn, not the comedian.
No.
Not the comedian. And so I was heavily into these by this point because they had this, it was all very. I can't think of the word I'm thinking of. It was all very. That's so Deborah. Deborah. So me and my mate, I recruited my mate on bongos, and we sort of formed our little version of Tyrannosaurus Rex. And we used to play at the school folk club.
Right.
And then we later became a full band.
Right.
Still at school. This is, because the school had a PA.
Did they really?
And somebody had
It's been a posh school you went to.
Yes, I can't remember. We had guitar. Anyway, we had enough equipment to form a band at school, and we did a few gigs at school.
You didn't get coins thrown at you though, did you?
No. And we even performed. Because one of my other mates went to a different school, and we even played at his school once as well. So that was it. So it started off as acoustic sort of T-Rex, and then later on, obviously, I carried on playing on my own. But doing other stuff of the day like Cat Stevens and things like that,
This was all in Kirby.
All in Kirby.
Now, are we going to go down the road?
No tables.
Yeah. Where they play tick with hatchets.
Tick with hatchets.
Tick with hatchets. Are we going to go down?
No.
Taking a Mickey out.
But the school I went to, very good school actually. Approved school, yeah. And Steve Rotherham, the current mayor of Liverpool, he went there.
Did he really?
Yeah. Stephen Graham, the actor, he went there.
Did he really?
Yeah. Trisha Penrose, that was a Heartbeat. She went there.
Did she really?
Yeah. And me.
Well, of course, the most famous of them all.
So no, it was a good school. It was a comp, but it was a good school, and they were good for the arts. As I say, they had a folk club, and anyone who's good at acting, I did a good school play. So it was a good place to go.
That's why everyone in Liverpool is a performer of some description, aren't they? Do you know what I mean? You got to get in a taxi there, and you get a 10-minute stand-up show. That's still the case now, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, it's about that. Remember that time when the lion escaped from Nosey Safari Park?
No.
Oh, it was terrible. And
is this a joke?
Somebody said on the news, what will happen?
Yeah.
And they said, well, we'll just have to take its chances like everybody else, don't we?
What about you? What was your first band? I know some of you did the bands that you ended up in. You moved down to London, didn't you? That's all I know. I don't know what happened before that.
Well, first again, like Nick, school band at boarding school. Popular demand meant that I stopped playing the violin and moved on to a Rossetti guitar.
A what?
A Rossetti guitar.
Right, do they still make them?
No.
It's a make of guitar, isn't it?
Yeah. And it was okay.
Yeah.
And then I moved on to a Hoffner Everything, which was
Hoffner Everything.
I always loved
it. It actually looks like a Gibson 335, but way cheaper.
Yeah. Was it actually very thin?
It was
very thin.
It was a great little guitar.
Yeah, I always liked it. In fact, when I first got my first guitar, after I'd had me 10 shilling one from my mate,
I
was looking in a catalogue. There was some sort of catalogue you can get,
Yeah.
And the choice was between a Hagstrom guitar, which was like the Gibsons that the Beatles used to use.
Right.
Those sunburst finish copies.
Yeah. I mean.
Or a Hofner Veritin. And I couldn't make my mind up between the two.
Yeah.
And eventually I chose the Hagstrom.
Right.
Yeah.
Which I was glad I did, because I could play folk music on the, which I got into quite quickly, and I couldn't have played that on a Veritin.
Well, I just wanted to play like Dave Davis in the Kings. So.
Did he play a Veritin?
No.
I didn't think he did.
So when did you come across that Telecaster then? That came later?
That's a bit later. That's when I started to play properly. I mean, obviously the school band was really amateur. I mean, our Phil, inspired by my move from the violin, he went from his whatever he was playing, what did I say? Clarinet, onto a couple of cardboard boxes as a drummer, you see.
Right, okay.
So it was a fairly, our first actual concerts were like school concerts,
Yeah.
So absolute rubbish, We only got a bit more serious once we left. I think the first proper time I played with actual guitar was probably in London Youth Club. It was the one opposite the Civic Centre. It's a wooden shack that is still there in some form.
Really?
Is it really? They're not the Civic Centre down.
Yeah, I probably would have been about 16 when I played there for us. Again, Phil, he borrowed a snare drum and a couple of cardboard boxes.
Really? Just hitting boxes?
Yeah, actually sounded quite good.
Yeah, really?
Buddy Holly, some of the Buddy Holly tracks they used in cardboard boxes.
Did they?
Peggy Sue, something.
Peggy Sue was a call.
Yeah,
Was it really? I did not know that.
Yeah, you were mocking.
No, I know. I clearly need to get myself a box, don't I?
Yeah.
Forget about this other fancy drums,
Yeah.
Can I tell you about the name of my first band?
Go on.
This was the school band. I was asked to join it by two guys who were friends of mine. They asked me to join because their lead singer was absolutely crap.
Right.
So I didn't really join for my guitar playing.
Yeah.
I joined to be a singer.
Yeah.
And they were called the Go-Go's.
Really?
Which I thought at the time was really naff.
And this was before the actual Go-Go's.
Yeah.
You never met one in the Carlisle had a fleeting dalliance and mentioned it to her.
Were they in the Go-Go's?
Yeah.
That was the Go-Go's, Carlisle and the Go-Go's, yeah.
Oh, this was the first time. Well, we were
got there first.
We were four blokes got the Go-Go's. And I said, I'll join you, but I hate that name. Can we change the name? And they said, okay, well, what do you want to call us? And my big musical influence at the time was the local barber, Jerry Kenny, who used to play in a local band called the Beat Boys, who were very well known in Leeds.
Right.
And Jerry was real cool.
Yeah.
Man, he was always chewing like I did.
When men were men.
And he'd invented the name of a band, and I asked him if I could steal it. So we were called Jimmy Ritchie and the Night Turn Welders.
The Night Turn Welders. Were any of you actually welders?
No. None of us were Jimmy Ritchie.
That's bizarre.
And I got that, I had that. Well, in fact, I did it myself. I stenciled it onto my guitar.
Did you really? I remember the name of my first band was, again, it was a school band. And again, I think I used my Casio keyboard. But then we actually did replace that with a drummer. With Mike, I want to say it was Dan and Dave. I can't remember the names of them. Anyway, there was three of us. And the first gig we ever did was in school. Because there was two bands. There was one band who were really talented, really good. They played like Sweet Child of Mine, which had just come out at the time. And then the guitarist who could actually do it all. Yeah. And then we had us three afterwards who had only been learning for a couple of years. And the only thing we could play well-ish was Another Brick in the Wall. Now, we did an assembly with about 1,000 kids there. And I never forget to this day the look I got from the headmaster. You remember the headmaster that we had there? He was he was an odd character, but that's due to legal issues. We'll not get into that one.
Oh, yes.
You all know what I mean, don't you? It was him.
Legal issues don't matter on the internet.
And I was singing and playing guitar and singing, you don't need no... I can feel his eyes piercing into the back of my head like that. It was this little... idiots thinking we don't need no education in the middle of that, because they asked us what we were going to play. We didn't tell them that. No. Because obviously they wouldn't let us.
No.
And that's
what was the band called? You've not.
I do remember what we were called. Before I tell you what they were called, because it was really naff. The word of the day, if something was really good, it was mega.
Oh yeah.
Everything was mega. And for some reason, one of them came up with the negatives. I'm like, what's that about? We want to be a bit more upbeat than that. That's what I know. Let's call us the negatives.
Negatives.
And I think we only did one gig in school, and then we merged on to other stuff. But it's the worst name ever.
Our school band
is quite good.
Our school band was called Aftermath. Which was named after a Rolling Stones album.
Yeah. What album?
And I mean, like, we only did, I'd say, a couple of gigs, but one other memory I remember from Aftermath, we did in one of the bedrooms, we recorded a song called Green Suede Shoes. Don't know where we got that idea from, you know.
It was time on it.
No such thing as copyright.
It probably was, on the album. And
Purple album.
yeah, it was, and we on a cassette, you know, and we took this cassette player down to Lime Street Station in Liverpool, where they had one of those booths where you could make a record. You remember that?
Oh yeah.
You know, you get those little flimsy records. You could actually.
No, could you?
Yeah. You go into it, you know, like a photo booth, like a photo booth,
right?
Recording booth on the railway stations, and you could go there. So we just took this tape record and played it. To get a little flimsy, you get those.
Is it printed out like a vinyl? That would work on a record player.
Yeah. Newspapers used to give them away.
Beatles made a demo.
Did they? Yeah. All the Christmas records came out from that. So we actually had a copy of this record, and I then designed a sleeve, you know, which obviously well gone now. But Aftermath, it was all graveyards and everything.
Yeah.
You know. But the thing, you know, so record booths on railway platforms.
Never heard of those before.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Like milk machines.
I'd never seen one of those.
No?
Never.
No, I've never seen one of those.
It wasn't like railway, was it? Was it probably mostly just a Liverpool thing?
No, I think probably all the mainline stations would have had them, I would think.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, Lime Street's probably the only I know, but obviously I would think any mainline station would have one.
Wow.
You know. Do you not remember them at all?
No, not at all.
You don't remember hearing about them or even?
Doing what?
You've not even heard about them.
Oh,
yeah.
He didn't hear what you said just then.
I thought he said peering at them. Peering at them.
Subtitles will be there.
I am going to put, just in case anyone doesn't understand his Scouse drawl. The one with the old
subtitles will be there.
Subtitles will be there.
Yeah.
They do sometimes. There is a software that auto-translates this into other languages as well.
Oh, right.
And I've watched myself on other content that I've made.
Other languages.
The kind of thing that it thinks you're saying.
Yeah.
I'm like, I didn't say that. Do you know what I mean?
No.
That sort of stuff is often wrong, isn't it?
It's very rarely right.
I was watching something today, and it was something about Trump, and there were some ridiculous things coming out as the translation.
Well, it used to be actually some person
Yeah.
tapping away, didn't it? We digress here anyway.
Yes, yeah.
Right, the next one was, did you ever think it would lead to a career, or did you have a backup plan? Now, everyone wanted to be a famous rock star, I'm sure, but was there some point where you thought, do you know what?
When I was 15, 16, and I'd got into folk music, I was convinced when I'd done the O-levels, as they were then, I was going to go on the road and be Donovan.
Rocking the table.
Oh, banging the I should know better.
Yeah, it'll make the microphones make the funny noise that.
I was convinced I was going to go, become a bum on the road. I never did, but I never really aspired to go on the road. And no, I don't think I did. When I finished school in sixth form, I wanted to be a journalist.
Yeah,
and I got a job on the local paper, so that was fine. I never thought
it's always kind of a hobby.
Yeah, same here. Really.
What about you?
Same here.
Always a hobby.
And once I left school at 16 and joined the post office.
Yeah.
And that really took over then, in every aspect of my life, socially and everything, Yeah. So the music sort of took a bit of a backseat, really. At that point,
But
I know you did.
Yeah.
Well,
nearly.
It was always a hobby at first. In various bands, and we were just playing around, small clubs and pubs and things, and then had a couple of guys, Mark, Francis, and Andy Duckworth. they started writing songs.
Yeah.
And they started sending off tapes to London, and they were getting some interest. So with really careful planning, they decided to have a go, go down to London and try and make it big. Which was completely stupid, because at that age, I haven't got any idea of planning.
No.
So there's a mate had an old little Bedford van, windows at the back, all the way around, seats down the side, and I don't remember the bonnets on them things. They were about this wide, and they opened up like a little. It was almost like flipping up the lid on a tin of beans, It's that big.
Yeah.
So it was a rubbish old van, and basically we just piled into it and off we went.
But you had no plan to stay anywhere?
Not really. And
Where did you sleep?
I left a good job as I was a computer programmer then. We were just married. And the idea was go down to London, Carol would come down as soon as we found a place. Yeah. So we found some pretty rough accommodation in Brixton.
You weren't married to Carol at that time?
Married,
you were married, but you went to seek your fortune.
And so off we went, and they tried the best. We were going and playing all sorts of places. We found ourselves a manager. I don't know how. And he was very good. He got us, playing in various clubs just to have record company people coming around. Yeah. And like we played in the, I think it's called the Temple. Right. Which is in the centre of Soho. Yeah. And we were supporting Argent.
Who?
Argent. Rod Argent. Hold your head up, woman. Hold your head up.
Argent was the name of the band.
Rod Argent was the lead.
He was a zombie originally.
He was a zombie.
I remember the zombies.
Yeah.
So
I don't remember the word of it.
They were quite a big band in that.
They were, yeah.
And so they went on. They were going to go on, and they were very generous. Let's use all our gear. Yeah. And then the club manager came to us after we'd done our set and said, "Can you go on and do another set?" Because he said most of the band is lying horizontal in the dressing room.
Passed out. No, passed out or far out.
Yeah.
That's what most of the audience. So he offered us another £10. All right. To go on and do the entire set again.
Yeah. Happy days.
Which we did. I don't think anybody.
Did anybody notice that it was a different same band?
Nobody noticed really. And we thought, this is rough on the road here.
Yeah.
We've now done a big gig and. But what really annoyed us is when we went outside, Carol was there by the Bedford van looking after it while we carried out very little bit of equipment, guitars and stuff in. And she'd been offered twice as much money as the rest of the band. Just by standing next to the van. So it didn't go into that. Although Mark did have a chance of being famous. Yeah. After we'd been at Duckworth, it was actually the son of Preston of Bolton.
Is that right?
Duckworth, yeah.
The jewellers.
The jewellers, yeah. He tried to live down there, living entirely off peanuts, which didn't do himself any good whatsoever. No. So he went home not feeling too well, Yeah. And we ended up with being a trio, me on bass, Mark on guitar and singing, and a drummer called Pete we picked up down there, who used to do Peter Green's hair, his wife.
Is that right?
His wife, actually.
Is Peter Green from Fleetwood Mac?
Yes.
Yeah, Peter Green's personal hairdresser. So I went round there with him sometimes. Yeah. He said, he won't mind you coming round, yeah. So when his wife was doing his hair, he'd go in with it and have a chat with him, And even, you could see me looking at his guitar on the wall. Yeah. And he said, would you like a go on it? Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it shows what a nice guy he was. He went out of the room while I had a go on it. Yeah. I don't think I could have picked it up otherwise.
Really?
So it was really nice.
Do you think that could have been the guitar that he'd done some
Albatross?
I'd like to think.
Is that the Albatross guitar?
I'd like to think it was, but I really don't think.
You didn't play that, did you?
No. I didn't play anything. Well, anything I did play, he said I wouldn't recognise it. Yeah. And when he came in, he said, you sound quite good. I thought, that's...
happy days. Coming from himself.
Nice. He was. Yeah. And that was, I think, after he'd come back from... They'd had some horrible experience happening in Germany. Right. Which is when people said it must have had a big mental change, before he started growing his fingernails. But he was a really, really nice guy.
Yeah, it was a shame.
And it was just a pencil. It was his dad's pencil. Really? Anyway, but only Mark stayed behind because he started getting in touch with the whole band were being looked at by a record company. And then this guy, I'm trying to think of his name now, He was quite a famous record producer at the time.
Mickey Mouse? No.
Brian Eno?
No, it was somebody who worked with Mickey Mouse. Anyway,
Yeah.
he really thought Mark was great, which he was, and he was seriously the talent in the band. But he didn't want him in the band. He said he just needs to go solo.
All right.
And he said he has a load of tracks written by Pete Townsend.
Right, really?
Because it's prolific at writing, Pete Townsend. So he wanted to use some of these tracks and have Mark record them. And obviously, me and Peter's room said, you can't pass this up.
So you've got an opportunity.
You've got to go for it.
Yeah.
You know, remember us when you get famous.
Yeah.
But he only lasted about another 12 months, so he's not.
Right, never quite got there.
Then since then, he's back. He was in Kent as a music teacher, and he was up in Belper, not far from.
Is it really? All right. Yeah, from your cousins.
Yeah.
I don't know why, for some reason, in the back of my memory, the Foundations rings a bell.
Oh yeah, well, just when we were.
Were you offered a job in them or something?
Well, yes and no. It was just when we were deciding to leave Mark to his devices.
Yeah.
Carol said, "Well, perhaps there's some other bands down here." You know.
Yeah.
And she was happy to sort of stay there for a bit.
Well, she's got a cracking job looking after people's equipment in the band, hasn't she? She's going in it.
There was I think it was Melody Maker or something. There was a very good paper that you could look in for adverts for musicians wanted.
Yeah.
But you had to be in London.
Yeah.
And so I looked at it, and there was this soul band wanting somebody. I thought, So I went to it, and it was a Foundations.
Right.
But
this is
it was just
Build Me Up Buttercup Foundations.
Yeah,
Nobody knows.
They had
That's the one.
Now I found you.
See, you can't say that song without somebody singing it.
No.
They had their 60s hits.
Yeah.
But then they were going to go off to a tour of Turkey, and they were going to be there for 6 to 8 weeks.
They're random.
Yeah, and I thought, this isn't fair to Caroline. So I had the chance, but let's put it just as well I didn't, because they've been going a bit, but they've not really kept going very strongly.
No. So you turned down the Foundations, eh?
Well, I wouldn't say turn them down. I'm sure they wouldn't have any trouble getting somebody better. So.
Well, I suppose the next one was, what's the closest you ever got to making it? You've just answered that. I suppose everybody else has as well. Right, here's as if or what if you could have been a member of any band, which band would it have been and why? What about yourself, Nick?
The Beatles, I think.
Yeah, which one would you have been?
McCartney.
Right.
I'd just like to have been in the Beatles. They were just brilliant.
Yeah. There's something else, wasn't there?
Yeah, they were, and the more I've looked back on them over the years,
those recent documentaries that they've done. Have you seen that one?
Yeah.
The one where they were recording the last.
Yeah.
It's quite sad actually.
Yeah.
When I was watching that, they kind of seeing the breakdown of it.
But
it was made me think that Paul was kind of.
Paul was
he was really trying to hold it all together, weren't he? And they were all like doing their own
once
thing.
Brian Epstein died, McCartney took that role on really, because by then they were like 67.
Yeah.
They were only still in their mid-20s, but they were mainly married or had partners.
Yeah.
And of course, once they've started moving in different directions, so it was McCartney who really kept it all together for the next 3 years,
Speaking of McCartney.
Oh yes, yeah.
Mr. Harris.
Yeah.
I believe you may have met the man himself.
I have, yeah.
Tell me about that.
And again, this was.
How did that come about?
Obviously, because I'm from Liverpool. A friend of mine.
Well, is it a thing that everyone in Liverpool has met one?
But obviously I grew up massive Beatles fan.
Sure.
And my best mate from the post office, who we became really good pals. He was a big Beatles fan as well. Anyway, him and his wife lived just off Penny Lane,
right?
As in the song.
Yeah.
Anyway. They invited us around, me, to a New Year's Eve party, New Year's Eve 1977.
Right.
So obviously I went, had my guitar with me, of course. And we were having a good party in this terraced house in I think it was Devondale Road in near Penny Lane.
Yeah.
And anyway, Chris, my mate, at midnight, the tradition is somebody goes outside to let the new year.
You bring the new year back in,
comes back in
with a drink.
He goes outside, comes running back in, and says, "Paul McCartney's outside."
No way.
And so of course we all pile out, and right across the road from where my mate lived, little did they didn't know, was Paul McCartney's cousin's house.
Oh, was it really?
And the McCartney's are quite a big family in Liverpool, and they're very sociable, and
So anyway, he was at a party opposite the road.
He was at his cousin's house,
right?
With his wife Linda, and with Twiggy and her husband, and Michael Whitney at the time. And of course, Mull of Kintyre was number one at this time as well.
Christmas number one.
Christmas number one, 1977. So of course we'll go out, and they're all out in the street, and we're all out in the street,
right.
And he was absolutely brilliant. He shook hands with everybody.
Made time for everybody.
Yeah, and all I could think of to say to him was, "All the best, mate."
Right. Everybody.
Was his cousin called Ian?
Yes, he had.
Does I work with Ian?
Well, this was John McCartney, but he does have a cousin called Ian as well.
I work with his cousin Ian at the Granada News Centre.
Very big family, very big family.
But you never got to.
And
I never got to.
Ted Robbins. Ted Robbins and Kate Robbins. They're relatives of Paul McCartney.
Yeah, I met Ted Robbins.
Yeah. I've met Ted as well.
Ted Robbins. It's a bit of a bizarre story how I ended up meeting Ted Robbins. Ted Robbins used to play rugby.
Oh yes,
socially.
Yes.
And everybody knew who he was. This is a famous Liverpool comedian.
Yes.
I don't know how you describe him, but that's pretty much it. Larger than life comedian. Larger than life character. It doesn't top your Paul McCartney story, obviously. But I played rugby most of my life, and when it was tradition, whenever you finished the game, you got in the bath afterwards, and these baths were probably no bigger than this this table here, and everybody got in. It was just black, and I got in this bath, and I just looked to my left like that. All right, mate. I turned right. Ted Robbins. What you say? I've just played against one of your teams over here, and he proceeded to tell jokes to everybody in the bath, and it was a bit weird. Yeah, a bit weird.
Well, Ted
in the bath with him.
He obviously he's done lots of things in his career, but one of the things he did, he used to be the warm-up man for Mastermind.
Yeah, I knew he was an infamous warm-up man for everything.
My wife and I, we used to go and watch them being recorded in Salford Keys, And before the show started, he'd be doing his warm-up routine, and he said, "Does anybody want to come sit in the back chair?" So because I put my hand up, and he said, "Right, sit down." And of course, he says, "Name, Ed Harris. Specialist subject, the Beatles." And he went, He said, "Right, first question. Which cousin of mine has never given me any money?" And of course, I knew the answer. Paul McCartney, because he, And so we had a chat with him afterwards as well, not much. But he's a really nice bloke, bloke.
I've got a good McCartney party story.
Go on.
McCartney family party. I worked at the news centre at Granada in Liverpool.
Yeah. Might just have to preface this, by the way, by saying Nick's job for many years, wasn't he? He was in radio,
television director,
radio and television. Yeah, mostly for the BBC, wasn't it? So
BBC in Granada a lot.
Right. Okay.
So I was at the Granada News Centre in Manchester, and the girl who was the vision mixer there, a lovely girl called Anne Margetts, was telling me that she was invited through cousin Ian, who was a security man at the news centre.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was on the door. Big burly fella. They went to a party, and McCartney was there.
Right.
And Annie Margetts said, at one stage, McCartney said, "Anyone got any requests?" Apparently.
Yeah.
And Annie said, "Oh, I'd love you to sing that. It's my favourite song of yours, My Sweet Lord."
Which is obviously a George Harrison song, isn't it? Yeah. Oh dear.
Yeah.
Did he play it though? Do we know?
I don't know. I don't know the conclusion of that.
That ties in with the next question anyway, which was, did you meet any other famous musicians? I know you obviously met Peter Green, Paul McCartney. I don't think the most famous, I don't even want to call him a musician really, was I met Bez.
Oh, Bez.
From the Happy Mondays. He was a guy who shook the maracas, that was all he did.
But a great dancer.
Well, he is a very good dancer, obviously, But the most bizarre one I did a gig where I supported, you remember the Monster Raving Looney Party?
Yes,
If you're watching this in America, how it works in the UK is anyone can become an MP, literally anybody. So you just have to pay your deposit, don't you? And then your name gets put on the ballot. And there was a party called the Monster Raven Lunar Party, which were led by Screaming Lord Sutch.
Mm-hmm.
And if ever, he always used to put himself up against whoever was Prime Minister at the time, didn't he?
Yeah.
And he used to wear these ridiculous, I don't think he's no longer with us, is he? He used to wear this big hat and these big colourful suits. And he was like the anti-politician, wasn't it? That was the whole point of it. But he actually was a very good magician. He wasn't a magician, he might have been a musician. And he was quite well known in soul and blues circles. And we turned up to this gig playing original rock music, and it was supporting him and his band. And he was really, what a voice he had. He was amazing, and nobody ever known. So famous-ish.
Just
can't compete with these.
Going back to Bez and sort of Beatles connection, Bez and Sean Ryder are now in a band with Ringo's son.
Is that right?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah, they played at the Cavern the other week. They played at the Cavern the other week,
Wow.
Yeah.
What about now? I know you've met a few people, and not necessarily musicians, but who's probably either the most famous or the most interesting or the most surprising celebrity you've ever met? We need to come back to you on that one, because you've met a lot of them, haven't you?
I have. For our American friends, I've met Britney Spears.
Is that right? How did that
She's
come about?
probably the most. She was on this morning. She was singing on this morning.
With Richard and Judy spoke on that show, didn't you?
Yeah. So whenever various pop stars would be, Faith Hill's another one who. Christy Bird.
Olivia Newton-John, he said.
Olivia Newton-John, that was way back in radio days. But I've done a lot of stuff like that. What I was going to say, just as I think as a matter of interest, don't bang the table, is that I always loved doing it.
You used to be a sound as well, didn't you? Banging microphones. Come on.
I used to love doing anything to do with music. So whether it was in radio or television, I did a lot of commissioning compositions of theme music for programs, and worked with some fantastic musicians in their studios, and I'd sort of go in there knowing vaguely a bit about music. They'd be playing along to some sort of quiz show or other, or devising the tune. There was a quiz show we did called Runway, and the guy who got to compose the music for that was a fellow called Mike Timoney, who was involved in the early days of 10cc. Yeah, so I'd go along to his studio, and we'd had several ideas, so we'd play them, and I'd say, I think that middle phrase needs to be a little bit more minor rather than major, trying to pretend that I knew what I was talking about.
Who had the most ridiculous demand year about? Demands or riders, or must be this in the dressing room?
No.
Did any of them have any of that?
I don't recall anything like that. It was a long time ago, sort of before that sort of stuff was.
You kind of got what you were given, a bag of crisps and a bottle of pop, wasn't it? You got what you were given.
But I do recall, I was going to say in terms of musical experiences.
I
ended up doing a lot of programs with brass bands.
All right.
And I developed a real love of brass music that I still have.
It's very traditional around here in the north of England. Everyone loves a brass band, don't they?
We both had fun with somebody's rider, and we supported Atomic Kitten.
Atomic Kitten,
University.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, it was. Well, we were. It was quite a big gig when it was like a freshers.
Is it that big too?
You've got in America sophomores week.
Whitney Zoo, wasn't it? Dead Kent.
And we were the support act, weren't we? They were like number one at the time, weren't they?
You were supporting Atomic Kitten.
We were supporting Atomic Kitten.
They just had that big
Hold Again.
Let me just check this. There was a girl who left.
Kerry Katona. She just left.
And unfortunately, they were short by one kitten because
there was only two.
The new blonde one who just joined wasn't there. So and they came 4 hours late. With just an Robbie Williams set. And the university was getting a bit fraught, And then when they arrived, I think they only did 4 songs. to a CD player.
They got paid about 10 grand as well, didn't they? They were miming too, weren't they?
Miming as well.
They turned the microphones on after the song finished so they could speak in it.
Yeah.
Well, we knew.
And they just said, make some noise, make some noise.
Ironically, they weren't making any noise really well.
I think our viewers would like to know a bit more about this. You just threw in the Robbie Williams set.
And they requested something ridiculous
It was a thing about the ride
caravan.
Well, we had a little caravan, which, great. I mean, they were really nice to us, the Kent guys. There was bottles of beer in the fridge, and there was sandwiches wrapped up once. But they had this special tent behind the stage just for
famous musicians, not for us.
And they showed us and the rider, and so we went in this thing, and there were fridges, and there were candles, and there was decorated and everything. So all sorts of stuff, and it was all on its list of what they wanted. And obviously, they were 4 hours late, 4 songs, and a big argument broke out. We stayed out of it, And,
they didn't go down very well.
But again, it was just like back in the Central Soho saying, "Can you go on again?" They came and said, "Can you go and do another set?" I said, "No, we're going to just do the same set. They'll all like it." And we did, and they did. It went down great. And then when we came off, they just said, "The tent over there, that's yours. It's yours for the night."
Finish it off.
I don't remember that. I must have held myself to the free beer from the first time around. I don't remember playing a second set.
You weren't driving. Well, you wouldn't have done because it was the same as the first set.
That wasn't the time that I threw up in the van on the way home, was it?
Well, no, that's what I was telling. Because once this was with Spike Angela later, function band, and we were down in Birmingham, and it was one gig that Lynn, the bass player, couldn't do. So we got a stand-in bass player. A stand-in bass player, and he came down with us. Off we went in this 6-person van. Before the gig, went out for something to eat, and there was an all-day breakfast going in this pub.
Black puddings.
Yeah, black pudding, and everybody. I think 3 of them just went for it, and nobody wanted the black pudding, so we had all the black puddings. And then I
regretted it later.
I think it was on the Banks' beer at the gig, wasn't it?
Now I blame this on really old pipes. It was in a building that your sense wasn't used very often for functions, so I think they quickly cleaned out the pipes of the pumps, and I only had a couple. I swear I only had a couple. And on the way up, black pudding, I must explain to anyone who doesn't know, it's dried blood, basically. Dried congealed blood, and usually fried.
Yeah.
But I remember on the way back, it's one of them you don't even get any warning. It's just like and it's there, it's gone, it's out.
Well,
it was all in the fans. The fan,
he was in the vents. He was in the front seat.
You had to sell that van,
Neil, the keyboard player, was driving. I was in the back. I can't remember who. I think he was sat next to Samantha, the drummer, weren't you?
Possibly, yeah.
So suddenly he barfed, and most of it went into the fan and all over the windscreen.
Yeah, went everywhere.
And it would have been a disaster, apart from Neil had the presence of mind to turn the windscreen off.
To try and wipe the vomit off from the inside.
Which didn't work.
There wouldn't have been an accident if he wouldn't have turned the windscreen off. The van just erupted in laughter. So,
That was awful. Bad pint. There's some bacteria in that. In those beer pumps. Anyway, last few, and then we'll have a quick fire questions. Have you ever been paid off of a gig? Now, when we're being paid off, that's when the manager of the place will come and say, either there's no one here, don't bother,
carry on.
Or after the first song,
Yeah.
you're crap on your bike, off you go, here's your money, go.
Yeah, no, it's never happened to me.
Has it not?
No.
Sorry, I didn't mean to act surprised.
Well, no, to know
It's clearly happened to these two. It's never happened to me either.
No, it's never happened to me.
Not?
No, but I think it maybe the nature of the gigs, you know, my main band was the Media, as you know, which, you know, for 20 odd years. And it may be the nature of the gigs that we did, you know, because we either played at places like the Cavern, where obviously you play there and people know, you know, they know
they come to see you.
Yeah, they come to see you and listen to the music. Or weddings and private, you know, so and at weddings, you know, you pretty much know what you're going to play. And I've never heard of a band being paid off for a wedding, I don't think. You know. No, I never have. So we tended to do, you know, either real designated music functions, you know, where obviously people had come to listen to the music anyway, or private weddings, parties, that sort of thing. So we didn't do many pubs really, which I think is probably when that sort of thing happens, isn't it? You know, although we did have an experience in a pub in Bury once. It was a bikers pub in Tossington in Bury.
Yeah, no, well.
And we turned up, and funny enough, it was the day the Queen Mother died, and we were on our way up there, and I'm thinking, you know, naively, they might cancel it when the Queen Mother's died, you know, I mean, out of mark of respect, but obviously they didn't. You know, we turned up, and it was a bikers pub, and we were like a 60s band, really, you know. So we just did the whole set. Nobody was listening in it, but we just did it anyway, you know.
Did it anyway.
But yeah, you know.
We've certainly been paid off, haven't we?
No.
Have we not? I'm sure we'd like finish early, or here's your money, you don't have to do the last half hour. I'm sure that's happened a few times. I've been paid off plenty when I was in the original bands I was in, because we had this manager who would book us anywhere.
Yeah.
He didn't care where he got us. He wanted to get us in anywhere.
Yeah.
And he got us in these like tea rooms and stuff like that, and we were like a psychedelic rock band. And like we turned up here like,
these little ladies.
We did 30 seconds of a sound check, and he's like, manager's looking at us, saying, nah, off you go.
No.
But yeah, many times. What's the best? I know the answer to this. You'll know who my answer is probably. Who's the best artist you've ever seen live?
Tommy Emmanuel.
I don't know who Tommy Emmanuel is.
He's a
American guitarist.
brilliant guitar player. He's Australian.
Australian, is he?
Yeah.
G'day to all the Aussie people.
I don't think I've ever been in a place where someone has such complete mastery of their instrument.
Right.
Just make it talk, sing.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
I'll have to search that one.
Still around.
Yeah,
Really
look him up.
Yeah.
Is it? I will do that. I'll put that on my list. What about you, Ed?
It's a tough one really, because I've been to so many good gigs over the years. I'd have to say the first time I saw McCartney in '73, because it was the first time I'd seen a Beatle live, on stage. So that was a big experience, and in Liverpool, of course.
Yeah.
At the Empire Theatre, which is obviously no longer. Saw Led Zeppelin there that year. That was a special one as well. Led Zeppelin at the Liverpool Empire.
Wow.
And then I say lots and lots of others, but another big one which was meant a lot was Simon and Garfunkel at Wembley Stadium.
Oh really?
And because I was a massive Simon and Garfunkel fan, and this was one of their many sort of reunions.
Yeah.
And myself and a few friends went, and just to be in the same company as Simon and Garfunkel. I got told off for singing by somebody in the audience.
Did you really?
We've come to listen to them, not you. So, and then I saw them again at the Manchester Evening News Arena a few years later, with the Everly Brothers.
Oh really?
The Everly Brothers with the support.
What pair of duos?
So that was because Simon and Garfunkel were heavily influenced by the Everly Brothers.
Oh, of course, yeah.
And so to see them on the same stage, that was a special one as well.
No one did harmonies like those four guys, did they?
I've seen Paul Simon in
as well,
concert. That was one of the best concerts overall.
Was that one at GMEX? I went saw him at GMEX.
I saw him at GMEX, but the sound was very poor because I was right at the back.
Yeah.
About 2 weeks later, I went to see him at Sheffield Arena.
Yes.
And it was fantastic because it was Graceland and the Rhythm of the Saints.
That's right, it was. It was the same year, wasn't it?
Superb. Overall musicianship.
What about you?
Well, at one end of the spectrum, there was when you saw them as well, which was seeing Pink Floyd at Main Road Stadium. Yeah. Which was just
by far my favourite gig.
It
was the first one I ever went to as well.
Stunning. It was
outrageous, wasn't it?
It was just such a show.
Yeah. Not just the music, was it? But they had this quadraphonic sound as well, didn't they?
Yeah.
We were sat right at the back, but you go watching a band, they have like big stacks either side.
Yeah.
They had stacks on the other side, on the stands on the other side, and then behind you as well, and they used it, and it was like...
The sound of the lights was just immaculate, and obviously...
They probably wouldn't be allowed to use some of them lasers now for health and safety.
Every gig has a bed flying from the back of the stage, crashing down there, and an inflatable pig coming up the crowd, and Louise on the crowd. It was sort of part of the course.
That was the first gig you ever took me to, and I remember feeling ever so disappointed whenever I went to any gig. I thought they're all supposed to be in it. And clearly they're not.
At the other end of the spectrum, probably then one of the best gigs I went to was seeing John Mayall and the Bluesbreakers.
Yeah.
Well, I'd seen John Mayall 4 or 5 times before, and it was quite late on in his career. But it was in the 90s, late 90s, when he was probably about 70 then. with Coco Montoya on guitar at the Academy 1, which is a small academy.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it was really a small venue, like 500, 600 people packed in. You know, we were right at the front, me and Carol, you know, really close to the stage. The piles, a relatively small amount of stuff was on stage, you know, but they'd have a Hammond organ and stuff and keyboards. And they came on with it, and it felt like knocked on the sound check. So the first song was a bit higgledy-piggledy. And then after the first song, the bass player was shouting to the sound guy, "Can you put a bit of 32 megahertz on that, 42 megahertz on it?" Actually instructed us. And when they did the second song, it was absolutely immaculate.
Yeah.
As was the rest of the show.
Yeah. Knew what they were doing.
And they did When the Devil Comes Down, I think was the second song.
Yeah.
And it opens up with a mouth organ playing in simplicity to the guitar playing. And I kid you not, when it opened up, it sounded like a railway train was going to come through from the back of the stage. It was so impactful.
Yeah.
You know, it was really good. And Coco Montoya is probably not a guitarist you've heard of.
No.
He's still really well known today in America. He plays conventionally now, but then he was playing over the top.
Right.
Either that or I was seeing something. And when he came on before this started up, he just started doing a quick bit of warm-up, you know. And you really would have just gone home and thrown the guitar.
Yeah, I'm done. Why did we ever bother? But you always took me to some. I was really lucky, obviously, growing up. You took me to some amazing concerts. You took me to see the Stones at Sheffield. That was good.
I'd like to see the Stones.
Really good.
Yeah, they were good. Yeah, they were good. And I remember you taking me to see Mark Knopfler as well. We saw Clapton as well.
Yeah.
The one that sticks out was when it took us to watch Tina Turner. I wasn't. There's one reason why I remember it vividly, because I was an older teenage boy, I think, at the time, and obviously Tina's Tina. She's a woman and a half, isn't she? And I remember they had a giant screen behind. And
a giant screen
yeah. Well, no, it wasn't actually. It was
something else.
Quite the opposite. I remember the camera guy was like up there, like looking up like that, and all he could see all night was just straight up Tina Turner's skirt behind her. It was probably set that way.
Yeah,
she probably knew what she was doing. But I couldn't tell you anything about the music.
Couldn't sleep that night.
I had no idea. No idea. Right. Last one. Are you still involved in music today? No, I know that is the case.
Yeah.
Because
despite popular demand.
Yeah. We do something together, don't we?
Yeah.
Every now and then.
We're going to admit to what it is.
They can do if they want. Yeah.
It's called Acoustic. And we're nominally a sort of status quo acoustic tribute. Although we also play a few other things as well.
We don't try and look like them.
No.
As you can tell.
And like most sort of things in music, happy sort of accident really, wasn't it? Because I played one song one night at the cricket club, and Dave asked me what it was, and it went from there, didn't it? Really, Dave? Yeah, it went from there. Yeah.
And I got roped in.
Yeah.
And completely spoiled it all.
Oh no, you brought a new dimension.
Check it out.
Definitely.
Links down below.
Yeah.
Anyway, last one, because I know we're running out of time and possibly battery on all these devices. So it's quick fire. There's just one word answer. Pick your choice, A or B.
Okay.
A or B. Lennon or McCartney?
McCartney.
I'll go for Lennon.
Yeah, I'll go for Lennon too. 2-2. Bob Dylan or Neil Young? Go for the acoustic folky one. Dylan.
Yeah, well.
Neil Young.
It's a bit of pattern there.
There does, don't there?
Yeah.
This could be a tricky one for you. Simon or Garfunkel?
Simon.
I'm just going to say Garfunkel, just because he had a spectacular head of hair.
Yeah.
And a good voice.
I mean, the balls
got a spectacular head.
Yeah, I know.
Come on.
For nothing to do with musical talent, but the balls to keep that hair when you've got none of it here.
Yeah.
I think it says something
now
about that.
he must have to do that, mustn't he?
Yeah. It's like the anti-comb over, isn't it? Right, guitarists, Eric Clapton or Mark Knopfler?
Either really. Either Clapton.
Two different, really.
Yeah, they are different, yeah.
So if you had to listen to one.
Both good players.
If you had to listen to one.
Go for Eric, even though personally I don't like him.
No, yeah, Clapton for me. Right, Battle of the Soul Singers, Aretha Franklin or Otis Redding?
Otis Redding.
Aretha Franklin.
Yeah, Otis, yeah.
Got to be Aretha. There's a lot of ties here, isn't there? Right, here we go. The rock guitarists. Eddie Van Halen or Brian May?
I don't know Eddie Van Halen, so Brian May.
Okay.
I mean, a bit. Yeah, I would probably go for Brian May because I know more of his stuff. Yeah.
Eddie Van Halen.
Yeah, same. Eddie all day. And going back some, Jimi Hendrix, Jimmy Page, Battle of the Jimmies.
Hendrix for me.
I'd probably go for Jimmy Page. Actually. Yeah. Again, different genres, but
Well, as a guitarist, Hendrix, as a songwriter, Jimmy Page.
Yeah.
I would agree with that as well. You saw Zeppelin as well, didn't you?
Sorry?
You saw Led Zeppelin as well. I remember you telling me, didn't you say they barely did a song that you recognised? They just started, and then it was like an hour-long jam, and then that was it. It was over.
Yeah, plus the mega volume, yeah.
Yeah,
Although
just like the loudest thing you've ever been to.
No, the loudest thing I've ever been to was Cream.
Oh, was it really? Right, okay. And
Was what? Cream?
Cream.
last one, I know the answer that you're going to get for this. Beatles or Stones?
Yeah.
Well, I'm equal because I used to love the Beatles, and then the Stones came out. I thought they were absolutely great.
Yeah.
But then later years went back to the Beatles.
Yeah, I think you can come and go.
Yeah.
Can't you? I do.
Yeah. I love them both.
Yeah.
But Beatles, obviously.
Yeah, Beatles for me, although...
They never let you back in Liverpool, if you said
when I was 17 to 19, I was playing no Beatles songs, all Rolling Stones songs.
Yeah, same. Yeah, musically, I was probably more influenced by what the Stones were doing. It's only because it couldn't do what the Beatles were doing. Stones was more accessible for us as musicians. We can all play like Keith Richard. You know what I mean?
People think we can.
Well, it's easier than it is copying other people anyway.
It's amazing how good he sounds with so little.
Yeah, very true. Talent can only take you so
Just
far.
throw a quick question into you, which I knew this, but while we were away, I heard it on the radio. Which Stone song did Lennon and McCartney sing on?
Oh.
Was it? You can't always get what you want.
No.
I thought you might have been in the choir.
Yeah.
Just jumped in on that.
No.
I don't know.
No, so it's a song called We Love You.
All right.
It's a Stone single from
Recall that
68, 69. And it's all about when Mick Jagger locked up for drug offences, you know.
All right.
We love you.
Oh, yeah.
And you hear the sound of jail bars being closed. And Lennon and McCartney are in the chorus on that, you know.
Oh, they really?
Yeah.
Never
But how many Beatles songs did the Stones sing on?
Well, they recorded one, didn't they?
Only
They recorded
only
one.
is
The
one.
Beatles, the Beatles gave them one. Yeah.
Did they?
Yeah.
Which one was
I Wanna
that?
Be Your Man.
Your Man.
Was that?
That's a Beatles song.
Is it
which
really?
They gave to the Stones.
Ah, right.
But they also sang on All You Need Is Love.
Yeah, they were in the audience.
Yeah.
The audience,
Singing.
Anybody worth anything back then was
Yeah.
within that one, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Anyway, I think we're going to have to start wrapping up now. I don't know you guys, I've learned a lot today. I found it fascinating. These guys have certainly
Interesting.
been around the block and certainly continue to go around the block.
Yeah.
And I hope you found some of their tales of these unlikely legends interesting. If you did, feel free to follow the channel, leave us a comment down below. But for now, take care of yourself and we'll see you later.
Bye.
Ta-da. Brilliant.
That was great.
That was really good.
Enjoyed that.
You're all naturals.